I feel like people look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them I'm looking forward to birth, but I am. I'm looking forward to doing it again and just seeing what this experience is like. It's so nice, like knowing what to expect. The first time you truly just don't know what to expect, and it's different for every single person, every single pregnancy. So we'll see, but I'm hopefully optimistic about it. Hello my loves, and welcome back to my channel. I am so grateful that you are here. I've been wanting to make this video for a while, just talking about what has been different for this pregnancy, what has been the same, and what I plan on doing differently, and what I'm going to be doing the same. I am pregnant with my second child. I am having a little girl. I already have a almost 3-year-old son. He'll be 3 in July. And honestly, these experiences have been so different. I don't know if it's because of the gender. I don't know if it's because I'm now pregnant, taking care of a toddler. So many factors, which I will dive into today. 2 things I want to mention before we get started. 1, obviously, this is not medical advice by any means. I'm not a medical professional, but I love sharing my experiences in case it helps you be inspired to maybe do something different with your pregnancies. Or if you're like me, the first time being pregnant, you really have no idea what to expect. So maybe this will help you know what to expect, because every single pregnancy is different. Every body is different. So just that disclaimer, obviously, this is not medical advice. And 2, if you are new here, please subscribe. I have such a hodgepodge of videos. I share travel content, vlogs, things from my life, but it's all kind of like behind the scenes of what it means to live an aligning, fulfilling, and present life, just like I deep dive into even more on my podcast, Alignment Adventures. All right, firstly, let's talk about what's different. I kind of already hit on this, but I have felt so different. So when I was pregnant with my son, I felt amazing. Like, I always kid that I was that annoying person that was like, I love being pregnant. This is awesome. I felt great. I was so motivated, so inspired. I did so much in the first trimester. It was crazy, like looking back now. But I also was pregnant for the first time and not also taking care of a toddler. This time around, I just did not feel good. Probably starting, I don't know what week. I found out I was pregnant right before Christmas in like mid-January, beginning to mid-January, all the way through like end of March. So pretty much the whole first trimester, I just felt hungover, like no energy, nauseous, and nothing sounded good to eat. But if I didn't eat, I felt even worse. Like it was just such a predicament all the time because I knew I needed to eat, but nothing sounded good. If you know, you know. And like that feeling of being hungover when you like didn't actually do anything to be hungover just drives you crazy, because when you are hungover, you know it's going to pass. Like you're going to feel better the next day. And I just didn't know when I was going to feel better. And that was a little maddening. But also I'm so grateful because I've talked about this in other videos and on my podcast, but I had 2 pregnancy losses before this pregnancy. Actually, 1 like right before I got pregnant, which by the way, I'm currently 27 weeks pregnant, so almost into the 3rd trimester. But yeah, back to that feeling of just always being so hungry. I still felt really hungry, but I was so hungry the first trimester and nothing sounded good. So that was a little tricky, but I'm feeling much better now. The 2nd trimester has been so much better to me. It feels so good to feel good after you've felt shitty for so long. And honestly, I don't know what factors contribute to this. I have heard a lot of other people say that they felt worse when they were pregnant with a girl versus pregnant with a boy. So maybe the gender has something to do with it, and the difference in hormones has something to do with it. I also took progesterone the first 12 weeks, and that was connected to those pregnancy losses. So that definitely probably affected how I felt. And like I said, I also have a toddler that I watch full time, and I was watching another toddler 3 days a week until recently. I just stopped that. So I was watching 2 toddlers, and that was very exhausting. So all of those factors could contribute to why I feel so differently this pregnancy. But let me know, did you feel different with your pregnancy with a girl versus a boy, and what was that like for you? Because I find that so interesting, just how different these pregnancies were. And like I said, I'm just so grateful to be at this point. And with everything that happened this past year, I'm just sending so much love to anyone that needs it, that's experienced pregnancy loss or anything in that realm. That could be very difficult. I'll link some of my podcast episodes where I really deep dive into things that helped me through that journey. Another thing that's been different and can also be contributing to how I felt different this pregnancy is I worked out very consistently when I was pregnant with my son. Like I said, I didn't have another child to take care of, and I was also working full time. So I had a great gym schedule that I would go before work usually, and the gym was right by our house. Now I just don't have the time to really fit it in because someone would have to go watch Arlo and they can only watch him at certain times. So I usually just work out at home. I do try to walk every single day and lift weights at home, like lift weights, just very minimal and nothing crazy, like 2 to 3 times a week. But it is nothing like I did last time. But I am wanting to stay active because even in the first trimester, even though I didn't want to work out, I knew I would feel better after I worked out. But first trimester can also be survival mode. So if you're going through it and you don't feel like working out, give yourself a break, give yourself some grace. I knew for me personally, and I didn't do it all the time, that if I got up and moved and at least just walked or did a little bit of movement, I would feel better. And that always did make me feel better for the most part. And now that I'm feeling better, it feels so good to go on walks. I do get tired very easily, so it's nothing crazy, but it is important to me to continue to work out. I think I went to the gym the day that I went into labor with Arlo. I do think that helps with the labor process and just maintaining your overall wellness and well-being mentally, emotionally, and of course physically. Another thing that's been very different with this pregnancy is I now see a group of midwives rather than an OBGYN, and that has been such an incredible and amazing experience for me. I can't say enough positive things about them. I'm obsessed with them. I'm truly obsessed with my midwives. Every time I leave an appointment, I'm just I love them so much. Again, this is just my experience. I'm not saying that all OBGYNs are the opposite of this, but that was my experience with OBGYNs. It was very fast paced. You come in, you have your list of questions, but you kind of rush through them, and it's just very methodical, systematic that way. When I go see my midwives, they are always asking about my well-being and how I'm doing mentally, and they don't rush through the appointment, and they just care. They truly just care. And I'm so glad that I had them as my support going through the pregnancy losses. I feel like all of us have just been on this journey together, and they've been so excited for me now. And they just do things so much more simply, and it just makes so much more sense. I know probably so many of you have done the dreaded glucose test or have heard about it. Honestly, in the scheme of things that you experience as a pregnant person, the glucose test is low for me. It's really not that big of a deal. But for my next appointment, since I have to take that test because I'm at that point of my pregnancy, they gave me a little piece of paper and said, yeah, just either you can take this drink with you and drink it before you come, or buy your own juice. It just has to have this much sugar in it. And they gave me a list of juices that I can drink, and just drink it 30 minutes before you come in. We'll have the appointment, draw your blood. That's it. So isn't wasting your time. You don't have to sit there for an hour. She's like, you're a grown woman. I trust you to drink this drink and do what you're supposed to do. And I'm like, oh, you guys are just amazing. And they're already talking to me about my birth plan. I remember mentioning that I had a birth plan to my last OBGYN, and she just kind of laughed at me. Again, I'm not saying all OBGYNs are like that. That was just my experience, but it's just been so different night and day. They've been sending me resources for birth, which we'll get to how I want to do birth differently this time. But honestly, cannot recommend this group of midwives more. If you're in the St. Louis area, I can let you know who I go see, because they make me want to have 5 more babies. I definitely don't want to have 5 more babies, but they make me want to see them for 5 more babies, because it's been such an amazing, positive, uplifting, empowering experience with these midwives. All right, things I want to do differently. When it comes to prepping beforehand, the first time around, I just didn't take packing your hospital bag that seriously. I don't know why. I was just why do people freak out about that so much? Just pack it when you know you're about to go. I don't know, I just didn't take it that seriously. Well, Arlo came 2 weeks early. I did have my bag kind of packed, but we didn't even have his car seat installed. It was a hot mess. We threw the car seat in the car. Stephen had just gotten knee surgery. He was on crutches. I remember throwing in last minute things into my bag, essential oils and just random things. And I ended up not having enough clothes because we had to stay a few days longer just with things that happened at birth. And Arlo was in the NICU for a day. So I'm definitely going to be more prepared with my hospital bag. Nothing crazy, but just some more comfy clothes. And now that I've been, I know what to expect. And I know that's a really popular video to watch and make, what's in your hospital bag. I always thought those were kind of funny and silly, but they can be useful. So let me know if you're interested. I'm not even sure what I'm going to put in my bag yet, but I know I'm going to focus on having plenty of comfy clothes for myself, just in case we are there longer, which hopefully we're not, and just things to make me feel overall comfortable for my birth and my labor experience this time around. Another thing that I feel differently about is prepping for the nursery. Again, I feel like this is something that people place so much time and energy on, and if it brings you joy, that's amazing. I personally would focus more of my time and energy on birth and postpartum prep and not the nursery, but to each his own. I'm going to somewhat have her room prepped, but honestly, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not doing anything crazy. There's so much emphasis on prepping the nursery, and they're not even in their nursery till like after 3 months. Like they're not even sleeping in there most of the time. So I'm really not too worried about that. We are moving Arlo to another room to make room for his baby sister. And I, of course, want to have like her clothes organized and all the stuff ready, but I'm not putting too much emphasis on like getting the nursery ready. It might still look crazy in there because she's not going to sleep in there right away. As long as like her clothes and the items that we need are ready to go, that's what's important to me this time. All right, let's talk about labor, because I had such an interesting experience last time, and I feel like it really gave me the confidence I need heading into the second labor. And I'm honestly looking forward to it. I know that sounds crazy because labor was one of the craziest, hardest things I've ever done. I remember like the next day looking at Steven being like, that was hands down the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Like, I don't want to trauma dump on YouTube and onto all of you guys, but I did have a very hard labor. And I think a lot of that was my own doing. So if you're interested, here's a little brief description of my birth story from the last time to give you context for how I feel now. So my plan was all along to do it more naturally. Like I read some books on natural childbirth. I read some books on hypnobirthing, and I was like, yes, this all makes sense. Our body is made to do this. Like, I'm just going to give it a go and see what happens. Looking back, I wish I would have done more mental prep, and that is something I'm doing differently this time. Is I plan to take a course. So if you have any birth courses that you love, let me know in the comments. I have my eye on a few, but I need to pick one and start working on that just to have more like mental tools in my toolbox. So anyways, Arlo ended up coming 2 weeks early. I got really sick that day and I was dehydrated. So they told me to go in for an IV. As I was getting my IV in the hospital, I was having some contractions too. Actually, I didn't know if I was having contractions because the first time around, you don't really know what they feel like, but I thought I was having contractions. As I was getting the IV in the hospital, my water broke, and I remember like trying to bargain with the doctor because I really wanted to labor at home as much as I could. I was like, can I go back home and labor and then come back? And he's like, no, you cannot. Which thank goodness I didn't, because things happened pretty fast. I think I just panicked. Even though I'd been preparing, I didn't feel ready. And I just kind of freaked out. And I was like, they're going to push Pitocin. It's going to hurt really bad. My contractions are going to be really bad. So right off the bat, I asked for an epidural, even though that wasn't my plan. But I didn't end up getting an epidural till like 9 centimeters. I dilated to 9 centimeters with no epidural. So I feel like I experienced a lot of labor without an epidural last time. So that's giving me the confidence into the second labor. And it was very painful for me. Again, I think a lot of that was like I wasn't helping myself in any way. For example, since I was so like freaked out and scared, one, that was a bad mindset to have. You know, I was doing the best I could, but I had this very fearful mindset. I just stayed in the bed the whole time. I didn't move around, and I was like tensing up through the contractions instead of letting them like flow through me and breathing through them. I mean, I was trying to breathe through them, but like all the tools I'd read about were just out the door. That's why I want to do a lot more mental prep this time, a lot more practice, actually take a class so I just feel more ready. Like the first time I was like, I meditate, I'll be fine, I can do this. And it just gets intense fast. So I just want to have more tools in my toolbox. But anyways, I ended up having epidural, and Arlo was born at 7:11 a.m. We went in at 9 p.m. the night before. So it was a pretty quick labor. So I feel like this next labor could potentially be even quicker, which would be nice. But yeah, I'm just honestly looking forward to trying it again. There's nothing wrong with epidurals. Like people that choose to have an epidural, I support you all the way. Like I totally get that everyone needs to do what they need to do to have the birth experience that they need. Or maybe sometimes you have to have like an emergency C-section. And thank goodness we have those interventions. But for me personally, I really want to experience natural labor again. Like it felt like such a portal. I could feel myself getting into like trippy mindsets. I also told Steven that I was going to die, not to scare anyone out there. Like I said, I truly was kind of my own worst enemy because I was tensing up and I wasn't doing things that could help me relax more into labor. But it was the experience I needed heading into this next labor to try it again. I just want to try it again. And I'm open to things going differently if they need to. Like if I end up getting an epidural, it's not the end of the world, but I just want to try again. And my midwives are so supportive of this birth plan. They've been sending me resources on hypnobirthing and these classes. So TBD, I'll let you guys know how birth goes. We got 3 months left, but honestly, I'm looking forward to it. Let me know if anyone has the same mindset. I feel like people look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them I'm looking forward to birth, but I am. I'm looking forward to doing it again and just seeing what this experience is like. It's so nice, like knowing what to expect. The first time you truly just don't know what to expect, and it's different for every single person, every single pregnancy. So we'll see, but I'm hopefully optimistic about it. Okay, another thing I want to do differently is postpartum. I really want to lean into that 5 days in the bed, 5 days near the bed, 5 days around the bed. I may be saying that wrong, but basically you spend like a week or two, or sometimes even a month, like truly recovering and resting. And I feel like last time, I don't know, I just felt like I needed to get up and move around, which is so interesting because I ended up having to go back in for surgery for a tear they missed. There's so much more to my birth story that I could have shared. But again, I don't want to trauma dump on anyone. So I really should have been resting more. But this time, I really want to lean into that as much as I can because Steven does have paternity leave. Thank goodness. I'm so grateful for that. I know that is not common, and hopefully that does become more common, and we're close to family. Steven's family did come and visit us for a week. So like they helped so much, but for some reason I felt like I needed to be up doing things. Like, no, this time I'm going to try to stay in my bed for as long as I can or around my bed and just let my body recover, because I don't think anything can really prepare you for postpartum except experiencing it and then doing it again. So now I feel like I know what to expect, and I'm just really going to take it easy and spend that time cuddling my sweet little girl and getting to know her, and Steven and Arlo can have some bonding time. And yeah, that's my goal, is to do the 5-5-5 in and around my bed and let people take care of me, receive that help. Also, I want to give nursing more of a chance. Like I mentioned before, I had to get surgery right after birth last time, so I had to go under anesthesia, and that kind of made the nursing journey a little bit more difficult. And we were doing a triple feeding situation, which is when you, what is that? It's been so long. I'm also kind of forgetting. You nurse, pump, and also bottle feed. And I just didn't know how time consuming feeding your baby would be. So like my mindset around that is so much different. I remember like sitting in my bed feeding Arlo, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this takes so much time to feed your baby. So I'm just feeling like I'm so much more prepared, and I really want to give nursing more of a try, because last time I started exclusively pumping like 2 weeks in, and I did that for almost a year. I exclusively pumped, which I'm very proud of that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a great option, but I think the situation that we have now, I really could do nursing for as long as I needed to, and I just really want to give that more of a try this time. And last thing I want to do differently is I plan to wear my baby a lot more. I did with Arlo, but I don't know if I was just scared I was going to squish him, or I don't know. We just didn't wear him as much as we could have, and I feel like, especially having a baby and a toddler, that's going to be such a better way for me to get stuff done, is to just wear her. So I do have the Solly wrap somewhere, and I borrowed a carrier from Steven's cousin. So between those two, hopefully I can carry her a lot more. But let me know any carriers that you love down in the comments. All right, for this last section, I gotta move a little bit here. My legs are falling asleep. So things that I'm doing the same for this baby is we have borrowed so many baby items from friends, and I'm so grateful that we get to do that, because honestly, if you buy all the baby stuff new, that is really expensive. But if you know people who are also in the baby stage and maybe they're not using things, ask if you can borrow it, or look on Facebook Marketplace, or look at consignment shops, because honestly, a lot of the things you don't even use for that long. So it just makes so much sense to borrow them. We've borrowed a bassinet, a few baby bouncers, baby carriers. We're getting hand-me-down clothes from friends. I got pretty much all of my clothes from my sister because she was done having 3 boys. I'm so grateful and blessed. Arlo got to wear all of those hand-me-downs. It's not until recently that we've really had to start buying him clothes, which has been amazing. And I still try to get them from the thrift store because it just makes sense, especially his shoes, because he goes through them so fast. So I just encourage you, borrow baby stuff if you can, because like the swing and the bouncer, they may not even like those things. That can be really hard pills to swallow when you spent all this money, and they may not even like that item. I just feel like borrowing baby stuff makes so much sense. The only thing we need to buy really is a new car seat, but I think that's the only big item we have to buy, which I'm very grateful for. Another thing I've been doing the same is stretching every morning and every night. Now, I don't do this every single morning and every single night, but I try to as much as I can. Honestly, I think that's helped my body be not so achy, and I think it's also a great way to show gratitude for my body. I'm so grateful for all the things that my body is doing for myself and for my baby. It is truly magical when you stop and think about it. And I try to say thank you to my body every single night. These are things that I did with Arlo and things I'm going to continue to do with this baby girl as long as I can. I think I was stretching with Arlo until I gave birth. And I just really feel like that helps your body not only stay like you're just more connected to your body when you're stretching and practicing yoga, but it also really helped my body prepare for birth. Maybe that is why I had such a fast birth the first time, or like a relatively fast birth. I don't know. I also did the thing where you have dates in the 3rd trimester. I forget what the recommendation is. I'm going to do that again as well. I need to buy some dates and some raspberry leaf tea. So those are also things I'm doing the same, is stretching, eating the dates, raspberry leaf tea. If there's anything else you guys did in the 3rd trimester that you feel like really helped prepare you for birth, let me know down in the comments. But I feel like some of those yoga stretches really help open your hips and just get your body in alignment before birth. So I hope this video was interesting. If it was, let me know down in the comments your thoughts or any recommendations or feedback that you have in terms of your pregnancy and how it went for you and how it was different. I just find the topic of birth so interesting. I could talk about birth like all day long. So let me know down in the comments your birth story or things that really helped you with birth. Please subscribe if you are new here for the hodgepodge of videos I have on my channel, and I'm sure I'll be sharing the birth story coming up, and I'll be very interested and excited to share that. If you are pregnant, whether it's for the first time, second time, or the 3rd time, I'm sending you so many positive and empowering vibes for your pregnancy and your birth, and just remember that your intuition is very powerful in this process. I had a lot of times last time where it was telling me to find a new OBGYN or maybe do this differently. And it's okay that it worked out the way it did, because I learned all the lessons I needed to for this birth. But just listen to that voice, because it is very powerful, especially during pregnancy. So like I said, sending you all so much love, all the highest vibes, and I'll see you in the next video.